Hey guys, welcome back. You're sitting on the hashtag MagnaOnAir Digital Network, MagnaSearchGroup.tv. In the studio today, Rory McMillan, President and CEO of the network, my co-host, my colleague,
Jason Berard. We're really excited. We're putting an amazing person under the spotlight today. He's part coach, he's part entrepreneur, but he's all leader. He's an author of, I believe it's 10 books. Who we got on the show today, Rory?
We got the one and only Coach Micheal Burt. Welcome to the show, Coach.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for the energy. Thank you for the invite. And thank you for just going out there and putting out some great content, man. That's what separates people in the world today. You got something to say. I always say having something to say is just as important as having somebody to say it to. So you guys are good at what you do. Thank you.
Totally. So we're going to start this interview process off, Coach, with a few questions here, and then we'll dive right in. So who is Coach Micheal Burt?
You know, I'm a former championship coach. A lot of people don't know that. That's really why they call me coach, is I spent over a decade of my life coaching women's basketball at one of the largest schools in Tennessee, here in the United States. And about halfway through that journey, I started writing books on personal growth and leadership and building cultures. That led me out into corporate America, where I began to speak. People asked me to consistently come back, and so I began to coach and train. At 31 years old, I retired from coaching after I'd won championship, and then into becoming an entrepreneur. And I started my company, Micheal Burt Enterprises, which is really a coaching and developing company. We call us the Super Coach, which is kind of a coach on crack, so to speak. It's just this amped up, jacked up coach that has its background of a coach, but has this entrepreneurial mind and how to build businesses.
So let me ask you, Coach, why did you decide to transition your coaching from on the court to becoming a super coach off the court?
Passions evolve, and I worked 80 hours a week for 12 years coaching the team, building a culture, and I think I just began to outgrow that position, and I began to feel like I needed a bigger arena. I began to feel like I wanted to impact millions of people just versus my team, and so really it was kind of outgrowing that position. It was a bigger calling, and I just felt like it was time for me to transition to something bigger in the world.
And you're coaching top executives on performance. You're coaching companies. What is the full sort of breadth of your off-court coaching?
Sure. We actually coach lots of different people, mostly entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, business owners, but lots of big companies bring us in to coach and develop their talent. And when I look at the buckets, I look at how do you recruit and attract better talent, i.e. how do you get great people on the bus. Once you get them on there, we come in and coach and develop those people, and then retention of those people. So our coaching consists of big entrepreneurial coaching programs like Monster Producer, which is a monthly consistent program for people online and in person all over the world, to where I go into companies and work with their people to develop their talent, typically towards some big aspiration. So we do it both on site and inside the companies in a variety of coaching mechanisms.
That's really interesting, especially with our sort of side of the business, where we're always finding talent for our clients, and we know how important it is to retain that talent, because it is the war of talent, and they need to be on the same level with everyone else because they got to accomplish that common goal of the company, right? So that you help fuel the bus. You guys help drive it.
So that'll lead us into our next question, Coach, is how important is it for a company to really hire the right people?
Well, it's incredibly important, because early on in my career, I quickly figured out that people were bringing me in to coach the wrong people. And every team, in my opinion, comes down to a 1 to 10. 1, 2s, and 3s are just bad players. They've got very little knowledge, very little skill. They've got very little desire, and they've got very little confidence. And so you coach those people for 2 years. You take them from very bad to bad, okay? And you've got players that are role players. They've got some knowledge, some skill, some desire, some confidence. You coach them for 2 years. You take them from pretty good to really good, but they're still role players. And then you get some great players on the team from the beginning, and you coach and develop that talent. And, man, you can take them from really good to just fantastic. And lots of people hire the wrong people and try to make them right. And that's where you guys come in. Finding talent in today's world is very important. And we would come in after you found that talent to coach and develop them, to hone those skills, to nourish those 4 dimensions of nature, and to continue to improve. But that's the first step, getting better players on the team.
Well, you said 4 dimensions of nature. What do you mean by that? What are the 4 dimensions of nature you're referring to?
My coaching philosophy is built on a holistic approach of body, mind, heart, and spirit. And I believe that every person is made up of 4 parts, which creates 4 dimensions, 4 intelligences, 4 capacities. And so for body, that represents skill. For knowledge, that represents mind. For heart, that represents passion and desire. And for spirit, that represents confidence, belief in self, belief in what we're doing. So I can quickly diagnose where a person is deficient or has a missing structure based on one of those 4 parts of their nature.
Cool, very cool, and it's about getting that balance and getting all of those traits on the right path, and then that person will be holistic in their approach. Is sort of what Coach Burt can make happen, right?
Well, what good is it? I would ask a question: what good is it to have knowledge with no skill? What good is it to have skill with no talent or desire? What good is it to have talent with no desire? Or what good is it to have knowledge, skills, and desire with no confidence? And so people are typically missing one of these missing structures. Superstars have most of those structures, but a lot of people, are just missing one of those. So a good coach will come in and find very quickly the missing structure and fill that missing structure so they can perform at a much higher level.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, coach, are missing those aspects in their life, right? A true mentor, a true coach to really push them to that true potential.
How important do you think a mentor is or a coach is?
I think it is 100% important because my philosophy is real simple. Everybody needs a coach in life. That's all 7.5 billion people on the planet, because you cannot reach your own potential. You will digress and retreat and contract when it gets hard. You need another person to have conversations with you don't want to have. You need another person to make you do some things you don't want to do.
Yeah.
You need another person to help you become something you didn't think you could become, and that's what a good coach does. And the people that don't want coaches really don't want accountability. And if they don't want accountability or a coach, they're really telling me that they're not serious about their potential, because every major athlete, every major entertainer, every major Olympian, every major CEO in the country today has a coach.
And you help people in all aspects of their life, coach, become better, become greater, become more confident, not just in business, but in their personal lives as well.
Yeah, a good coach takes your low thoughts of value and converts them to high thoughts of value. They take your confusion, they turn it into clarity. And I've shied away most of my life from the life coach concept. But as I get older, I begin to understand that to some people, I am a life coach. I do help them. We just did a show this week on Cardone's network called Empty the Hurt Pocket. Last week I did Crumbs. Next week, I'm doing how to multiply millions or multiply money. So the topics I tackle are both integrated. They're personal and they're business. And I just can't get away from that no matter how much I try. Some of the things I talk about affects people personally.
And how many people are you oftentimes helping? Do you have like a calendar of 10 people that you're helping a day, or 10 a week, or how busy is your calendar? Is it a huge value service that you guys are providing to people across North America?
Yes, it is. And at any time, we could be helping thousands of people.
Yeah.
Because of our model, the way our business model is set up. When we sign up a company, we may have all 500 of their associates that I am the coach for their company. So we have several companies that are billion-dollar companies, and I am the internal coach for all of their people. And if they've got 800 employees, we've got 800. If we have another company that has 500 employees, so we have all of these in our system that are getting some form of coaching from me, from our team. And so at any given time, we could be coaching several thousand people.
Wow. That's really interesting. So
that's a lot of people.
And then you've got also the podcast too, which is a whole coaching session in
and
itself,
his network.
Right? Yeah, exactly. The entire network, the books, everything like that. You're helping a lot of people.
It allows them to hit
like
more markets,
so
right? More reach.
So that individual coaching, now translate it to building a team. So we'll take it from basketball and try to take it off court. But what are like sort of 5 key components that you need on your starting lineup in basketball in terms of personality traits? What do you need, Coach?
Well, one of the hardest things to do in today's world, it is a free agent nation, as Dan Pink mentioned in his book. And I see that more and more. We're taught to be selfish versus selfless. We're taught to be individualistic and not care about the team. So, guys, it's getting harder and harder to build high-performance teams. And here's what I'm seeing. Managers are not equipped to build high-performance teams. They've never had a class in coaching. They don't understand human behavior. They don't understand how to intertwine that human behavior together to get something bigger collectively than they could individually. So let's look at a team as where the strength of some compensate for the weaknesses of others, where collectively we can do things we can never do individually. And so building a team is really important. You say, what are the ingredients of building a team? Well, I would tell you, if you read a book like The 5 Dysfunctions of Teams, every team in America, in the country, really is dysfunctional because we're imperfect people living in an imperfect world. So if we're looking for great components of teams, let's look at the opposite of what those dysfunctions are. So if one dysfunction is absence of trust, we know that great teams have very high levels of trust. They don't judge each other. They're vulnerable to each other. They believe in each other. There's no hidden agenda. There's no ulterior motives. There's no selfish behavior. So have high levels of trust. They also have the ability to have critical conversations. They don't have a fear of conflict. They can talk openly, honestly to each other. They can push back on each other. They can challenge each other. There's also equal levels of commitment, because when you have uneven levels of commitment, it builds resentment both toward the leader, both toward the other team members. They also have high levels of accountability, is that they're not afraid of accountability. They actually want accountability. And then they have checked their ego at the door. They do not have the dysfunction of status and ego. They actually say, I am one part of this, but I'm not the only part. It's a very dangerous place for people to believe that they're not replaceable. With 7 billion people on the planet, trust me, everybody is replaceable. I'm replaceable. Everybody's replaceable. And only your ego would tell you that you're not.
And what about challenges, Coach? Like, what's the greatest challenge that you've had to overcome, either as a coach or as an entrepreneur, and sort of how did you do it?
I think as an entrepreneur, the challenge is just how hard every day it is to get people on board, to overcome obscurity, to build a national brand, to have money left over to expand and grow. I mean, it's just an ongoing consistency, and people just don't understand how much money you really got to bring in to actually show a profit, to have money left over to reinvest in the business, and people are drastically out of touch with that. And we're not competing on the same level of a Cardone that's 30 years older than me, and we're 20 years older than me. Don't want to make him that old, but I'm only 38 years old, and so a lot of these guys that are in my business of coaching and training and developing are 20 to 30 years older than me, and so they've got so much more experience. They've got bigger budgets. They've got more staff. I'm trying to sell people on we're going there. We're going to be the next big thing. But in the interim, man, we've got to dig in. We got to buy in. We got to believe. And you got to put your money on me and our system that we can become that one day. And other people will say, that's how you do it.
So do you feel, Coach, that you're just going to be, your focus in order to get out there more into the market, become more of a national brand, is just to outwork those seasoned veterans who are coaching each and every day?
I think we have to bring something new. I think we have to bring something novel. I think we have to bring something unique. We believe the next era is the coach. It is the super coach. It's crossed between a championship coach with an entrepreneurial mind that brings an energy and a methodology, not just a cotton candy satisfaction. So we have to bring something different. I wake up every day. Matter of fact, I stay up at night trying to think of ways we can create unique value for the market that other people are not doing. And we want it to be new. We want it to be novel. We want it to be different. And it is happening.
So as I was saying, Coach, you teach all of those facets in each one of your coaching programs with every new student you bring into your programs?
Yes, and that's really a benefit I have over other people. Me being a former coach, a real coach, a person that really had to wake up every day and take various levels of talent and get it from point A to point B, it made my skill set very versatile. And so, think part coach, part psychologist, part motivator. And in all of our programs, we touch all 4 parts of that person's nature. That gives us an advantage over a pure sales trainer, a pure life coach, because the hybrid, I call it a chibra. It's a mix between a zebra and a cheetah. It's not just a specific. A sales trainer tells you to make more calls, to do this, but they very seldom tackle your motivation. They very seldom tackle what's going on in your life. They very seldom tackle the whole person. And I think that's a fragmented approach, personally. Or I see this a lot with authors that write books and go around the country and speak and tell people how to build their businesses, but they've never built a business. They've never had to deal with employees. They've never had to figure these things out. And I am a practitioner of what I speak on. Everything I'm telling, I'm doing, or we're trying to do. And a lot of our clients say that. We know you're in the boat with us. You're going through the same challenges we're going through. You're not in some ivory tower telling us to do things that you're not doing. You're in there grinding every day just like we are.
Yeah. So you motivate people every single day, Coach. Who motivates you?
I feed my mind a lot of things, guys. And I thought about this question. I'm a spiritual person, so I start every morning. I have a routine. I start every morning off with devotion and spiritual time, usually typically an hour. So then I move to business during the day where I'm feeding my mind there. And then at night I go back to some more spiritual things as I end my day. So the first part of my day, the last part of my day. And what I'm really trying to do is still my confidence. So I will actively read 3 or 4 books at the same time. And like I said, my routine is spiritual in the morning, business during the day. I do read some at night for pleasure or something to ease my mind, and then in it with spiritual. So I have lots of coaches. And I look at different coaches for different reasons. For example, if I was trying to build a national brand and go from regional to national, I may look at a guy like Cardone and say, how did you do it? How did you go from one vertical to horizontal verticals? How did you, if I wanted coaching in a certain marketing area, I may look at someone. So typically I get different coaching for different areas of my life that I feel like I have a missing structure.
I wanted to just backtrack a little bit on the spirituality component, because I think a lot of people hear spirituality and they don't actually know what you mean by that. So what do you mean by practicing spirituality, and how important is it really?
Well, I live in the Bible Belt, in Tennessee. And so to me, that's a religious faith. And so it's how do I wake up every morning in devotion? I typically watch sermons from some of my favorite pastors in the country. I actively coach some pastors on how to build and grow their churches. And so for me, my faith starts off with devotion or biblical reading or some type of religious or spiritual book. And so throughout the day, I start the day that way, I end the day that way. And so to me, it's not really New Age spirituality or New Age religion, although I have read that and have studied those things, like the Wayne Dyers or the Deepak Chopra or the Eckhart Tolles. To me, it's more of a religious faith of my faith in God that I share every day with the people around me. And and when I say spiritual, that's really spiritual / religious to me. Some people are more spiritual New Age, and that's certainly up to them, but that's not what I'm talking about.
I think what's universal about like success and achieving your goals is just having that faith, regardless if it's religion-wise or even just in yourself. I think that it creates that emotion and that drive and that sense of clarity going forward. I always hear you use the zebra versus cheetah analogy. Can you explain to our viewers what that is?
Yes, and we wrote a book on this called Zebras and Cheetahs, and I really didn't realize when we wrote this book that it would be something that we needed to explain. We could have said look different and run faster, and it would have been a lot more simple. But zebras and cheetahs is a sexier concept. It's obviously part of being different. So just think of it this way. A zebra looks different than every other animal in the animal kingdom.
Yep.
A cheetah runs faster than every other animal in the animal kingdom. So in today's saturated, commoditized business world where too many people are competing for the same space, I think there's never been a better time to look different and to run faster than your competitors. Now, people ask me, what does that mean? Well, it would mean that you have created a unique process for acquiring, recruiting, attracting talent that cannot be replicated or copied by someone else. That most likely would have started in your mind, the mind of the entrepreneur, and then created a process around that other people can't replicate. So you stand out. You're zebras. And when people go to make a decision, they say, man, there's only one firm that we have to use because they're just so different. They're so much better.
Yeah.
So the zebra looks different, but the cheetah, and I'm really a cheetah more than a zebra, guys. So the cheetah is how fast I attack opportunity, how I plan my weeks, how I go into a day on offense versus defense. So lots of people come to me and say, man, you just attack a week, man. And I say, yes, I attack like a cheetah. Cheetah has a close ratio of 60%. And so I'm never playing defense, man. I get up and I go on offense all day, every day. And we've even created planners that go with the way I attack a week. Our selling system is in Zebras and Cheetahs, the book. We also have the Cheetah School of Selling. I'm getting ready to do that in a few weeks. So I really believe on going offense. That's a big part of the world. We live too reactive. We're counter punchers versus punchers. We're reactive versus proactive. And I teach all the people I coach, man, we're going on offense every day. If it was up to me, we'd take the brake out of our cars.
Yeah, and I think you still have a bit of zebra in you, Coach. You know, I've seen some of your videos. I've seen that suit jacket you're wearing.
The suit jacket
I love it.
Is symbolic of looking different. And when I do speak on that, I don't start the presentation off with it, which is what's interesting. I start off in a regular suit. And then I say at some point, I don't feel comfortable talking about being different while I look the same. Mm-hmm. So when they bring the jacket out to me, red and black jacket that people just go crazy for, and they pull their cameras out and they want to take pictures with it. I even wore it to the airport to fly out one night, and you would have thought Elvis was at the airport, man. It was a big scene.
Yeah, I love it. And I've seen, is it the cheetah in you, Coach, that has allowed you to have, the most world records for the most speaking engagements in a single day?
It's actually, it's a combo. And I give credit to Brock Patterson, who's my agent. He came to me on a Saturday and said, man, we got to do something different to get more attention. And he said, I realize there's, X number of millions of books in the world. He said, but there's only one world record many times in one subject area. And he said, so I've got an idea I want you to try. And I said, sure. And he said, I want you to set the world record for speaking engagements in one day. And I said, well, what is the record? Well, there was no record. And nobody had ever even tried it. And there was a period of time where someone spoke for a long period of time, but it was to one audience. And so we come up with the concept of doing 40 engagements in one day. And we could have done 60 or 80 but 40 is the record for most engagements in one day, and that was a cheetah. And it got a lot of attention. We got a lot of media exposure, and we learned a lot during the process about what not to do with businesses, because I walked into a lot of businesses that simply weren't ready or weren't actively pursuing customers. So they got a little coaching from me. We picked up some prospects, and it was a great day.
Very interesting. Very interesting. And what would you say, Coach, that is one characteristic that any entrepreneur or any person needs when building a great team? What's the one thing that someone needs?
It's a tough question, but they need persistence. They need a deep emotional intelligence to get back up, mm-hmm. to fight through, to not grow weary on this race, because, man, I'm telling you, they're going to go home brokenhearted. They're going to go home broken-spirited. People are going to let them down. People that they're counting on are going to drop out, fall out, give up, give in. And so there's a lot of things you need, but at the end of the day, it's a resilience factor to just fight through, man. Just keep
persevere
fighting through. That's it.
Awesome. So you help a lot of people, Coach, in life, in business, around the world. Did you have to how many sacrifices did you have to make, and do you have any regrets?
I do have regrets. You're going to hear a lot of people say I have no regrets and I've never regretted anything in my life, and I just think it's a bunch of baloney. I think we all 30 years old, guys. When I was a coach, I worked 80 hours a week. I did not see my family very much. I did not see my friends. I grew distant from people who were close to me because I was so focused on winning a championship and being a championship coach. Now, I did attain what I set out to obtain, but the means in which I did it, i.e. basically at the cost of everything else, personal relationships, friendships, I really neglected a lot of the people that supported me the most because I was so laser-like focused, and I do have some deep regret about that. Now I have a family. Now I have a daughter. And, the big regrets I have now is not having any energy left over for my family when I get home. It's the reason I did the show Crumbs last week, is that I think a lot of very high dominant people pour everything they have into their work, and then they neglect the people that support them and care about them the most at home at night. And I've certainly been guilty of that. And so we have all of these mechanisms in place for me to conserve energy during the day. It sounds odd. You hear people talk about, I use Cardone, 10X, and I'm on board with that. But there's only so much energy and bandwidth in a day. And if I exert every bit of it into my clients and into my employees and into the people around me, and I go home and I want to lay on the couch when my 3-year-old daughter wants to play, I'm still not winning. And I've got to find ways to do both and have both at maximum levels.
Coach Burt, huge warm welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for spending the time with us. Anyone check his books out. He has swag. He has Zebras and Cheaters. The man of 10 books, author. He is the coach in life. Thank you for tuning in, guys. You're sitting under the spotlight. Coach Micheal Burt, Rory McMillan, Jason Berard. Subscribe to our iTunes channel. Check us out on SoundCloud, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. We're coming to you next week.